Take a deep breath and look. It's a vision from a dream, isn't it? An endless expanse of turquoise water, so impossibly clear you can see the sun's rays dance across the white sands dozens of meters below. Gentle waves kiss the shore with a soft, rhythmic sigh. You can almost feel the warmth on your skin, the salt in the air. This is the postcard perfect image of paradise, a world untouched and pristine. But listen closely. What do you hear? Nothing. A profound, unnerving silence hangs in the air where the cries of gulls should be. The surface of the water remains unbroken, a perfect, sterile mirror. This breathtaking beauty is a lie. What you're seeing isn't an ocean teeming with life. It's a beautiful, glistening monument to its absence. Healthy oceans are cloudy, their waters thick with the microscopic life that forms the very foundation of the marine food web. That clarity, that stunning turquoise hue, is the color of starvation. It's the color of a desert. We're gazing upon a world that has been scrubbed clean of life, a vast, aquatic graveyard shimmering under a lonely sun. But why? What could possibly silence an entire planet's oceans? The killer wasn't an asteroid or a supervolcano. It was something far more patient and far more intimate. The air itself. Our planet's oceans are like a living, breathing lung, inhaling oxygen from the atmosphere to sustain the countless creatures within. But this process is fragile, governed by temperature. Think of a cold glass of soda, fizzing with dissolved gas. Now imagine leaving it out in the sun. As it warms, the bubbles escape, and the drink goes flat. The ocean is no different. In this future, centuries of unchecked warming have heated the surface waters to a permanent, tropical fever. This suffocating heat created a planetary-scale disaster known as hyperstratification. The warm, sun-baked surface water became so light and buoyant that it stopped mixing with the cold, dense water of the abyss. An invisible barrier formed, hundreds of meters thick, locking the ocean into two separate worlds. Above this line, the water simply became too warm to hold onto life-giving oxygen. Below it, the deep sea was cut off from the atmosphere, its ancient oxygen reserves slowly, inexorably, being used up. The ocean, our planet's mighty heart, could no longer take a full breath. The result was a biological cascade failure, an extinction event that unfolded in horrifying slow motion. First went the phytoplankton, the tiny plant-like organisms that produced half the world's oxygen. With the foundation of the food web gone, everything above it began to starve. Imagine the great migrations of whales falling silent forever. Picture shimmering, continent-sized schools of fish vanishing in a single, desperate generation. The sharks, the turtles, the dolphins, all the complex, air-breathing life we know, were asphyxiated from their own home. The surface became a dead zone, an oxygen-free trap for anything that needed to breathe. But where did all of that life go? As trillions of creatures died in the sunlit zone, they began to sink. This wasn't the gentle dusting of marine snow that our oceans know today. It was an apocalyptic blizzard of organic matter, a relentless, millennia-long rain of corpses plunging into the eternal darkness. Every fish, every whale, every microscopic creature that died at the surface became a parcel of energy, delivered directly to the abyssal plains. The world above was dying, but it was sending an unimaginable feast down into the deep, and something was waiting there to receive it. In the crushing blackness, a different kind of life had always existed, surviving not on sunlight or oxygen, but on the chemical energy seeping from the Earth's crust. For these organisms, anaerobic bacteria and archaea, oxygen was already a poison. This sudden, massive influx of food was like a starting gun for a new evolutionary arms race. They flourished, consuming the decaying matter and depleting what little oxygen remained. In the process, they began to fundamentally rewrite the ocean's chemistry, pumping the water full of methane and hydrogen sulfide, the chemical signatures of a truly alien world. So we are left with a terrifying paradox. A silent, sun-drenched paradise floating atop a seething, energized hell. The rules of biology that we have always understood have been shattered. Life that needs the sun and the air is gone, replaced by what? The surface is a tomb, but the darkness below is now charged with the energy of a billion dead things. forging new forms of life in a world without oxygen. The sunlit paradise is a graveyard, but graveyards are fertile ground. So the real question isn't what died, but what has been born from the decay, stirring in that crushing, eternal blackness? We leave the dead, sterile sunlight behind, sinking into a world of deepening blue. This is the twilight zone, the mesopelagic. Here, the pressure builds relentlessly, and the last photons of light strain to pierce the gloom, painting the water in faint, ghostly hues before finally surrendering to the absolute dark below. In the past, this realm was a vertical highway, bustling with creatures migrating from the abyss to the surface to feed. Now, it's utterly, profoundly empty. The silence is even deeper here, a heavy blanket of quiet that feels older than time itself. But it is not devoid of life. It's just that life here no longer moves to the frantic rhythm of the sun. Then we see it. At first, it doesn't even register as a living thing. A faint, shimmering distortion in the water, a ripple in the darkness where there is no current. As our lights sweep across it, its form begins to resolve, and the sheer scale of it is difficult to comprehend. It's a vast, gelatinous curtain, a web of translucent filaments and pulsating bells stretching for hundreds of meters, possibly kilometers. It is almost entirely see-through, a living ghost drifting through the abyss with an unervingly slow, deliberate grace. It moves not like an animal, but like a weather system, an atmospheric phenomenon given a strange and terrible form of life. This is the siphonophore matriarch, and it is not a single creature. Like its ancient ancestors, the Portuguese man-o'-war, it is a colonial organism, a floating city of thousands, perhaps millions of specialized individuals called zooids. Some form the pulsating bells that provide its slow, hypnotic locomotion. Others are dangling tentacles, armed not with venom, but with delicate, sticky nets designed to capture the last vestiges of the organic rain from the dead world above. Still others are nothing more than distributed stomachs, digesting the sparse meal and sharing the nutrients with the entire colony. It is a superorganism, a society that has become a single body. But why this colossal size? Why this ghostly transparency? It is the ultimate adaptation to a world starved of both food and oxygen. In this new ocean, energy is the most precious currency. Hunting is a fool's game, a waste of effort. Instead, the matriarch has become a living drift net. By growing to such an unfathomable size, it maximizes the chances of passively intercepting the few nutrient particles that sink this far. It doesn't seek food. It simply waits for the universe to deliver it. Its slow, measured pulse is the rhythm of extreme energy conservation, a metabolism slowed to a near standstill. This creature embodies the new law of the twilight zone. Get big and slow down. Its gelatinous body is mostly water, cheap to build and maintain, and its near transparency makes it almost invisible, not to hide from predators, for what could possibly prey on something this large. But because building pigments and dense tissues would be a pointless waste of energy. It is a masterpiece of biological efficiency, a creature that has achieved dominance by doing as little as possible. It is the silent, patient inheritor of the mid-ocean, a phantom king ruling over an empty kingdom. Imagine floating beside it, dwarfed by its sheer presence. You could drift along its entire length for an hour and still not see where it ends. There is no head, no eyes, no brain in a form we could recognize, yet the entire colony coordinates with a single, unified purpose. Does it think? Does it feel the crushing pressure or the eternal cold? Or is it simply a biological machine, a perfectly programmed survivor whose existence is a long, slow dream? Looking at this colossal, silent being, it's hard not to feel a sense of profound, almost spiritual awe mixed with a deep, primal fear of the unknown. These living ghosts are now the gatekeepers of the deep. They are a living filtration system, a final barrier that catches the last whispers of energy trickling down from the surface. Because of them, the abyss below is even more starved of conventional food than it was before. For any life to exist deeper than this, it can't rely on the scraps from the world of sunlight. It would need to find an entirely different source of power, a source born not from the sky, but from the fiery heart of the planet itself. The siphonophore matriarchs may seem like the pinnacle of this new, slow world, but they are merely a prelude. They represent the end of the old way of life, perfected into its final, most extreme form. To find the real engine of this future ocean, to find the ecosystems that are truly new and thriving, we have to go deeper. We must journey past these gentle giants, into a realm where the water is heated by the planet's core, and life is powered not by oxygen, but by poison and fire. Our descent continues, leaving the realm of ghosts far behind. We are now falling through the midnight zone, the true abyss. Here, the pressure is a physical presence, a monstrous weight that would crush our bodies into jelly in an instant. The darkness is absolute, a perfect void untouched by light for millions of years. And yet, ahead, a faint, flickering glow. It's not sunlight. It's something else, something primal. As we draw closer, the glow resolves into a breathtaking, terrifying spectacle. A forest of black spires, belching superheated, mineral-rich smoke into the crushing black. This is a hydrothermal vent field, a crack in the planet's skin, and it is anything but silent. This is the brimstone kingdom. Forget photosynthesis. The laws of sunlight do not apply here. The foundation of this entire ecosystem is chemosynthesis. The black smokers are spewing a toxic cocktail of chemicals, chief among them hydrogen sulfide, the very compound that gives rotten eggs their signature smell. To us, it's a poison. To the life here, it is sunlight, air, and water all rolled into one. The bacteria that swarm in the shimmering heat of the vents are the plants of this world, consuming the sulfur and creating energy. We have arrived not at a sparse oasis, but at the bustling capital city of a new, alien empire. And here are its citizens. Moving with a slow, deliberate weight are the sulfur crawlers. Imagine a creature that is part crab, part tank, the size of a small car. Their bodies are covered in thick, interlocking plates of black armor, evolved to withstand not only the crushing pressure, but also the caustic chemicals and extreme temperatures. But their most incredible feature is on their backs. What looks like a shimmering, iridescent cloak is, in fact, a living garden, a thick, cultivated mat of chemosynthetic bacteria that they tend to with specialized limbs, constantly grooming it and exposing it to the richest chemical plumes. These creatures are the farmers of the abyss. They are the slow-moving grazers, the cattle of this bizarre food web. They spend their entire lives lumbering between the black smokers, positioning their bacterial gardens in the most nutrient-rich currents. The bacteria feast on the hydrogen sulfide, and in return, they excrete energy-rich organic compounds that the crawler absorbs directly through its carapace. It is a perfect, self-sustaining loop. The farmer and its farm are one and the same, a walking ecosystem that has mastered the art of living on a diet of pure poison. But where there are grazers, there are always hunters. The vibrant, chaotic energy of the vent field conceals a lethal tension. A flicker of movement in the shadows, too fast to be a crawler, too solid to be the current. It is an abyssal striker, the apex predator of the brimstone kingdom. Sleek, muscular, and serpentine, it looks like a nightmarish fusion of an eel and a barracuda. Its skin is a flat, non-reflective black, and its eyes are tiny, vestigial beads. It doesn't need to see. It senses the pressure waves and electrical fields given off by the crawlers with terrifying precision. And then it happens. In a world defined by slow, deliberate movement, the striker is an explosion of violence. It launches itself from the darkness, a black arrow propelled by a unique biological engine. These creatures have evolved a specialized form of anaerobic respiration. They don't use oxygen. Instead, their muscles can burn other chemical compounds for short, cataclysmic bursts of energy. The attack is over in a second. The striker's reinforced jaws, filled with crystalline teeth, punch through the crawler's armor with a sickening crunch. It is a brutal display of predatory efficiency perfected in total darkness. What we are witnessing is not just a collection of strange creatures. It is a fully fledged, complex ecosystem that has completely divorced itself from the sun. The bacteria are the producers, the crawlers are the primary consumers, and the strikers are the apex predators. There are scavengers that pick at the remains, smaller organisms that live in the bacterial mats, a whole web of life, thriving in conditions that would be an instant death sentence for anything from the world above. Life hasn't just found a way. It has built a new world from the ashes of the old, an empire powered by the planet's internal fire. This kingdom, born from sulfur and darkness, is a masterpiece of anaerobic evolution. Its inhabitants have been forged in an environment without oxygen, the element that once defined almost all complex life on Earth. But what would happen if they were to encounter it? Scattered across the abyss are ghosts of the old ocean, trapped, isolated pockets of water still rich with the oxygen that their ancestors breathed. What happens when a creature from the Brimstone Kingdom, a being to whom oxygen is a virulent toxin, accidentally stumbles into one of these ancient traps? The most essential element for our life could be the most horrific weapon in theirs. Leaving the chaotic warmth of the vent fields, we push out into the silent, featureless expanse of the abyssal plains. It's a world governed by new rules, an empire of life that not only survives without oxygen, but is actively poisoned by it. For the sulfur crawlers and abyssal strikers, oxygen is a corrosive fire, a toxin that unravels their very biology. It's a mind-bending inversion, isn't it? The air we breathe, the element that sparked the explosion of complex life on our planet, is now the most feared substance in the deep. But what happens when this new world collides with the ghost of the old one? What happens when an anaerobic creature meets the one thing it cannot survive? Scattered across the abyss are geological oddities, deep-sea basins and trenches that act as natural traps. Here, for millions of years, dense, cold, and highly oxygenated water from the pre-disaster era has been held captive, unable to mix with the warmer, anoxic water above and around it. These are oxygen traps, time capsules of a bygone world, preserved in the darkness like insects in amber. To modern deep-sea life, they are invisible walls of death. Entering one is like an astronaut stepping out of their ship without a helmet, but the death it brings is far more violent than simple suffocation. For the creatures of the Brimstone Kingdom, this is the chemical equivalent of flying into the sun. And in the borderlands surrounding these deadly traps, evolution has produced one of its most diabolical creations. At first glance, it looks like a delicate, pale flower growing from a rocky outcrop, pulsing with a soft, inviting bioluminescence. This is the corrosive bloom, a stationary, plant-like predator that doesn't need to hunt. It has a far more insidious strategy. The light it produces is not random. It subtly mimics the spectral signature of decaying organic matter, the faint flicker of a wounded creature. It is an irresistible siren song for any predator or scavenger that detects it, a promise of an easy, energy-rich meal in the barren darkness. From the gloom, an abyssal striker appears, drawn by the deceptive signal. It senses an easy kill, a stationary morsel of food. Its powerful body coils, muscles tensing for that signature burst of anaerobic speed. In its world, everything that doesn't move is either a rock or food, and this pulsating light promises energy. The striker isn't cautious. It's an apex predator, confident in its power. With a final flick of its tail, it lunges forward, its crystalline jaws wide open, ready to shear through the soft, fleshy petals of the bloom. It strikes true, its teeth sinking into the seemingly helpless organism. But the bloom doesn't recoil. It detonates. The moment its tissues are ruptured, specialized internal sacs burst, releasing a dense, shimmering cloud into the water. This cloud is not venom. It is pure, concentrated oxygen. For the abyssal striker, the effect is instantaneous and catastrophic. The oxygen, a furiously reactive element, immediately begins tearing at the striker's anaerobic body on a molecular level. It's a process of violent, uncontrolled oxidation, a chemical fire. Its skin sizzles and dissolves, its armor flakes and corrodes, its very cells bursting as they are exposed to the element they evolved to escape. The thrashing is brief and horrific. The mighty predator, the terror of the vent fields, is unmade in seconds, dissolving from the outside in, its complex biology completely undone by the very element that once gave its distant ancestors life. In the silent aftermath, the cloud of corrosive oxygen dissipates, and the striker is reduced to a nutrient-rich slurry. Now, the corrosive bloom begins its true purpose. It extends fine, root-like filaments into the dissolving remains of its attacker, slowly absorbing the bounty. It has turned the most lethal poison in its environment into both a perfect defense and a gruesome method of feeding. This is the ultimate, terrifying irony of evolution on this new Earth. Oxygen, the key that unlocked the door to large, complex, and intelligent life, has been repurposed into the deep sea's most horrific chemical weapon. An element that once built worlds is now used to dissolve them. The corrosive bloom doesn't just kill its enemies. It forces them to confront the ghost of their own planet's past. And that ghost is a ravenous fire. It's a profound and chilling reminder that in the game of survival, there is no such thing as good or evil, only what works. And here, weaponizing the very air our ancestors breathed works terrifyingly well. The existence of the corrosive bloom opens up a horrifying new line of inquiry. If life can learn to weaponize oxygen, what other forgotten elements have been turned into instruments of death in the deep? Are there creatures that manipulate pressure or temperature, or even obscure radioactive isotopes as part of their survival strategy? The bloom is not an endpoint. It is a signpost, pointing toward a new, invisible arms race being fought on the elemental level. The monsters of this world aren't just things with teeth and claws. They are masters of a chemistry that we are only beginning to imagine. We have reached the bottom of the bottom. The Hadal Zone, the deepest, most unforgiving trenches on the planet. The pressure here exceeds 1,000 atmospheres, a force that contorts the very structure of molecules. The cold is absolute, and the darkness is eternal. The seafloor is not rock or sand, but a thick, primordial slurry, a blanket of black ooze tens of meters deep, composed of the compressed remains of the dead world above. For millennia, this is where everything has come to rest. Our deepest probes scan this final frontier, expecting to find only crushing silence and the slow decay of a planet. At first, that is all the sensors report: pressure, cold, and a complex soup of organic chemistry. The probes register no movement, no metabolism, no familiar signs of life. This is the end of the line, the planet's final resting place. But then, an anomaly. The sensitive instruments begin to pick up faint, rhythmic energy patterns. They are not biological in any sense we recognize, nor are they geological. They are vast, slow pulses of chemical energy, organized in a complex, repeating structure that stretches beyond the horizon of the probe's sensors. What could possibly create a pattern on this scale? As the data streams in and our mapping software struggles to make sense of it, a truly insane and terrifying picture begins to emerge. The energy patterns are not coming from something on the seafloor. They are the seafloor. We are not looking at a colony of creatures living in the mud. The mud is the creature. This entire abyssal plain, a region spanning thousands of square kilometers, is a single, contiguous biological entity. We have given it a name: the geodermis, the skin of the earth. It is a life form that defies all our categories, a planet-sized slime mold that has become one with its environment. For eons, it has fed on the unending rain of organic matter from the surface, slowly processing it through a network of chemical pathways that spans a continent. It has no organs, no limbs, no central nervous system. Its consciousness is distributed across its entire body, a slow-thinking mind where a single thought is a chemical wave that propagates through the ooze over the course of a century. We are not just observing it. We are floating above the exposed surface of a vast planetary brain. The horror here is not one of fangs or claws. It's the horror of scale, of utter, profound insignificance. What is a human lifespan to a being that experiences time in geological epochs? What is our entire civilization to a mind whose thoughts are the size of mountain ranges? We are less than a microbe to it, a fleeting, momentary flicker of disorganized energy. It is the ultimate survivor, an intelligence so ancient and so alien that it operates on a plane of existence we can barely conceive of, let alone comprehend. It is life that has become a geological force. In the name of discovery, our remote probe is programmed to take a sample. A small, titanium drill extends from its underside and slowly lowers toward the surface of the geodermis. It is an act of incredible hubris, like a single bacterium attempting to biopsy a whale. The moment the drill makes contact, we brace for a reaction, for some sign of aggression or defense. But nothing happens. There is no violent lashing, no seismic tremor. There is only a quiet, focused change. The probe doesn't attack it, it just notices it. Then, the probe's sensors begin to scream. In a tiny, localized bubble of water surrounding the drill head, the laws of chemistry are being rewritten. The pH plummets to the level of battery acid, then swings wildly to a powerful alkaline. Salinity spikes, and exotic, corrosive compounds appear from nowhere. The geodermis isn't attacking the probe. It is simply, and with terrifying precision, editing the environment around the foreign object to make its continued existence impossible. The titanium drill, one of the hardiest materials known to man, begins to fizz and dissolve, unmade at the molecular level. In less than a minute, the probe goes silent, its instruments corroded into nothingness. The chemical storm subsides as quickly as it appeared, and the abyssal plain is once again calm and silent. We came to the deepest part of the ocean looking for the limits of life. Instead, we found a form of life that has no limits, a quiet, patient intelligence that perceives our most advanced technology as nothing more than a minor skin irritation. We came looking for monsters, but we found something far more terrifying. A silent, thinking god sleeping in the mud. We begin our long ascent, rising from the crushing abyss where a planetary mind slumbers in the mud. We pass back through the Brimstone Kingdom, its volcanic forges now seeming less like a hell's cape and more like a vibrant, thriving heartland. We drift by the ghostly, silent forms of the siphonophore matriarchs, no longer just strange creatures but the patient, silent gatekeepers of a new world. Each layer of the ocean we rise through is like traveling backward through a new, alien history. The journey upward is not a return to normalcy. It's a departure from the planet's new reality, a journey away from where life truly is. This was not a story about the end of life. This was the story of its transfiguration. On our journey into the darkness, we witnessed a great biological inversion. The surface, once the cradle of all complex life, is now a sterile ceiling, a beautiful trap. The abyss, once a near-barren desert sustained by scraps, has become the crucible of a new genesis. The engine of this planet has flipped. The sun, for billions of years the ultimate source of power, has been usurped by the geothermal heat of the planet's core and the chemical energy locked within its crust. The creatures we encountered were not the last ragged survivors of a bygone era. They are the founding fathers of a new tree of life. The sulfur crawlers and abyssal strikers are the first drafts of complex ecosystems completely free from the tyranny of oxygen. The corrosive bloom demonstrates a terrifying new direction in evolution, where the very elements of the old world have been weaponized. We came down here expecting to write an obituary for Earth's oceans, but instead, we found the first page of a bizarre and terrifying new chapter. And then there is the geodermis, the thinking seafloor. This discovery forces us to confront a reality far more profound than just strange new animals. The dominant intelligence on this future Earth is not like us. It is not an animal that thinks with a brain, but a geological process that thinks with chemistry. It operates on a timescale that renders our entire existence a momentary flash. We are no longer the planet's undisputed masters of consciousness. We are just a memory, preserved in the organic slurry from which a slow, vast, and utterly alien mind was born. Now, we breach the surface, returning to the world we first saw. The same breathtaking turquoise water, the same pristine white sand. But we see it differently now, don't we? This isn't a peaceful paradise anymore. It is a mask, a beautiful, silent lie that hides the truth of the planet beneath it. Knowing what stirs in the absolute darkness, this silence is no longer empty, feels watchful. The sunlit beauty has become the most terrifying part of all, because it is the face of a world that has moved on without us, a world that has forgotten the sun. And here is the most chilling thought of all. This was not a work of pure fantasy. The seeds of this future are being planted today. The processes we've described, ocean warming, hyperstratification, the expansion of oxygen minimum zones, are not science fiction. They are happening right now in our own time. We are turning up the temperature, and we are forcing the ocean to hold its breath. We are sending the first wave of that apocalyptic blizzard of organic matter down into the deep. We are, in effect, fertilizing the soil for a new and alien genesis.